Israel's military denies its troops shot at civilians after deadly attacks in an aid center in Gaza. A warning, the video that you are about to see is graphic. Now, the Palestinian Health Ministry says the death toll in Sunday's shooting incident is now at least 31 Palestinians killed and dozens more injured. Multiple eyewitnesses tell CNN they were fired upon as they were heading towards the aid site in Rafah ahead of its opening. The Palestinian Health Ministry and hospital officials say the Israeli military is responsible for the gunfire. I want to bring in CNN's Jeremy Diamond, who's live for us in Tel Aviv. These are very disturbing images, Jeremy. So what do we know so far?
Well, at this point, eyewitnesses on the ground, Palestinian health officials, doctors at these hospitals, as well as the organization Doctors Without Borders, are all accusing the Israeli military of being responsible for killing at least 31 people in this pre-dawn attack that seems to have happened on a crowd of thousands of Palestinians who were heading to one of these aid distribution sites, hoping to be among the first in line to receive aid from this distribution site in Gaza's southern city of Rafah. The Israeli military is denying that it fired upon civilians, quote, within or near this aid distribution site. But an Israeli military source has acknowledged that the military did fire what they described as warning shots at a group of Palestinians who were about 1 kilometer away from this aid distribution site. And we have now geolocated a video from the scene of this attack as the gunfire was going off around individuals at the Al Alam roundabout, which is located just under 1 kilometer away from that aid distribution site. And so the Israeli military seems to be playing quite a semantics game here, denying on the one hand that there was that they were involved in a shooting within or near an aid distribution site, while also seemingly acknowledging that they did open fire at individuals who were at the location of this very same attack. More than 200 casualties have been reported, according to the Palestinian Ministry of Health, including 31 people who were killed. This was quite a hectic scene that unfolded over the course of a couple of hours, between the hours of 3 and 5 in the morning, according to eyewitnesses. And we've really heard some very, very disturbing stories from individuals who talked about, crouching down on the ground to try and avoid the bullets. Some people who stood up to try and flee were then shot in the head or in the chest. Other individuals who came to try and rescue the wounded were shot themselves. And in addition to that, the individuals who were finally able to make it to that aid distribution site, some of them arrived to find that there was no aid left at that site. And obviously we know that this is just one of several very dangerous and deadly incidents that have taken place in the vicinity of these Gaza Humanitarian Foundation distribution sites, which have raised enormous questions about this model of aid distribution and the potential and very real dangers that we are seeing Palestinians face as they try and make it to these sites.
Yeah, I mean, we heard multiple stories. I mean, the United Nations has said that aid is being drip-fed into Gaza. We heard from President Emmanuel Macron that the aid distribution model needs to shift. There's been a lot of criticism. What are humanitarian agencies on the ground saying in terms of the changes that need to occur to make things more efficient and safer?
Well, they have been sounding the alarm on this aid distribution mechanism for weeks now, and those concerns have only grown even more as this aid distribution mechanism has gotten underway over the course of the last week. We have heard from Philippe Lazzarini, the head of UNRWA, which was until not long ago the primary provider of aid in the Gaza Strip. He said that aid distribution has become a death trap, saying that all of this points to the dangers of this new system. We've also heard from Médecins Sans Frontières, Doctors Without Borders, who are saying that this, quote, new system of aid delivery is dehumanizing, dangerous, and severely ineffective. They say that it is resulting in preventable deaths and injuries of civilians. And these are exactly the kinds of warnings that we were hearing from humanitarians in the weeks before this Gaza Humanitarian Foundation launched. They pointed out that whereas their traditional humanitarian humanitarian aid distribution systems would have hundreds of distribution points across the Gaza Strip, in very close proximity to where people actually live. In this case, what we are seeing is that there are only 4 active distribution sites. Some days there's only 1 site that's open. For example, yesterday there was only that 1 site in the Tal al-Sultan neighborhood of Rafah that was opened. And so you're seeing, huge masses of people having to walk for several kilometers in some cases through these areas that have been designated now as dangerous combat zones by the Israeli military, walking through Israeli military positions. And now, according to eyewitnesses on the ground, as they are trying to make their way to this distribution site yesterday, the Israeli military then opens fire on them. And so it is simply a very dangerous situation on the ground, and that goes beyond the fact that this humanitarian crisis in Gaza, this hunger crisis in Gaza, still has yet to be alleviated by this new aid distribution mechanism. Eleni.
Yeah. Well, Jeremy Diamond, thank you so much for that update.